Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our group forum discussions under the subject Pedagogy in Education, focusing on topic 2, Integrating Culturally Responsive Pedagogy. This forum aligns with Sustainable Development Goals (SDG 4), quality education with emphasis inclusive, equitable, and quality education for all. I'm Halvana Grace Rahabin, and I will moderating our season on today's forums. The main goals of these forums is to discuss how we can use responsive pedagogy to create more inclusive, engaging, and equitable classroom supporting SDG 4, quality education for all. In particular, we will be discussing how to use culturally responsive pedagogy to improve teachings, engage students, and thread fair in learning environment. We are truly honored to be joined by 5 distinguished panelists, each bringing unique and insightful perspective on today's topic of integrating culturally responsive pedagogy. Panel 1, Ms. Aziba, our cultural knowledge builder, representing classroom experience, will explain what culturally responsive teachings means and why it's important for students to feel respect and valued. Panel 2, Ms. Shasha, our curriculum designer, will share example how teachers can create lessons and activities that connect with students' cultural backgrounds, making learning more interesting and relevant. Panel 3, Ms. Jana, our data-informed practitioner, will discuss how teachers can use student feedback and classroom data to see whether culturally responsive teaching is helping students stay motivated and success. Panel 4, Ms. Juliana, our problem solver and advocate, will talk about the challenge teachers may face when using culturally responsive. Let us now begin with our first panelist, Ms. Aziba. To start our discussion, I'd like to ask how would you define culturally responsive pedagogy and why do you believe it crucial in today's diverse classroom?
First, I would like to say thank you to our moderator for asking these questions, and I'm very happy to be part of these important discussions today. To me, culturally responsive teachings means making sure that our students' backgrounds, cultures, and life experience are seen as a strength, not barriers. It's about creating a learning environment where students feel respected, understands and included, because when students feel like they belong, they are much more likely to participate, engage, and grow. In addition, in my classroom, we often focus on what students don't know, especially if they speak a different language, came from a rural area, or have a different way of learning. But culturally responsive teaching asks us to flip that mindset. Instead of focusing what's missing, we focus on what students bring, their knowledge, their values, and their story. They are valuable tools we can use to connect our lessons to their lives. For example, in my own classroom, I've been had students from different ethnic background, and I've learned that when I include text, example or discussions that reflect on their cultures, even something as simple as using familiar names or local stories, they become more confident and often. It shows them that their identities matters and that they are not outside in their own classroom. This approach also helps build a trust between students and teachers. When students know that you are care about who they feel safe to express themselves, ask questions, and even make a mistake. Because they know they won't be judged anyway. And that's where the real learning happens. Culturally responsive pedagogy also support equity, which is a big part of SDG 4, quality education for all. If we want to give every child a fair chance at success, we can treat all students the same. We have to teach in a way they connect with who they are and where they are come from. In short, culturally responsive teaching is about respect, relevance, and relationships. Respecting our students, making our lessons relevant to their lives, and building a strong positive relationships in their classroom. When we do that, we are not just teaching better, but we are creating classroom where every student feel like they are truly belong. That's all for me, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Aziba, for those insightful definitions and reflections. Now, I would like to invite our second panelist, Ms. Sasha. Could you share with us what strategies or activities have you used to make your teachings more culturally responsive, and could you share example of how you connect your lesson to student cultures and communities? Let us now begin with our first panelist. Ms. Aziba, to start our discussion, I'd like to ask how would you define culturally responsive pedagogy, and why do you believe it crucial in today's diverse classroom? Thank you, Ms. Aziba, for those insightful definitions and reflections. Now, I would like to invite our second panelist, Ms. Sasha. Could you share with us what strategies or activities have you used to make your teachings more culturally responsive, and could you share example of how you connect your lesson to student cultures and communities?
Thank you, moderator, for the meaningful question. Let me share a few key strategy and practical activity that teacher can use to connect the lesson to student cultural background and communities. 1. Use of multicultural text and folk story. In subject like Bahasa Melayu or story, teachers can include folk tales and literature from different cultural backgrounds, such as Pak Pandir, Putri Santubong, Sang Kacil, or Indian and Chinese legend. This story can help students learn more value from various cultures while promoting an inclusive and respectful classroom environment. 2. Community-based project. In geography or science, teacher can ask students conduct simple research project based on their own communities. For example, students from rural area can explore natural resources like river or farms. Students in urban setting can investigate local issues like traffic, congestion, or pollution. This strategy makes lesson more relevant and grounded in student real-life context. 3. Culturally inspired art activity. In visual art, teachers can guide students to create artwork based on their cultural heritage, such as Malay batik, Indian kolam, or traditional craft from indigenous communities in Sabah and Sarawak. These activities foster creativity while instilling cultural pride and mutual appreciation among classmates. 4. Involving parent or community leader. I also recommend inviting parents or community leaders into the classroom to share their cultural story or tradition, especially during festive season. For instance, during Chinese New Year, a parent could explain the symbolisms or orange or lanterns. This allows students to experience authentic, real-world learning that extend beyond the textbook. To conclude, when teachers connect their lesson to student cultures and communities, they not only boost student motivation but also foster empathy, understanding, and respect for diversity. As curriculum designer, I strongly believe that this approach is crucial to building a fair and inclusive education system, one that supports the true vision of SDG 4. Quality education for all. Once again, thank you, moderator, for the opportunity to share my perspective.
Thank you, Miss Shasha. Next, we welcome Miss Jana. Miss Jana, could you walk us through? Have you observed any positive effect of cultural responsive teachings on your student motivation, participations, or academic performance? And how do you measure whether your culturally responsive practice are working?
Thank you, Ms. Karas. Yes, definitely. As a data-informed practitioner, I focus on using both classroom observations and student feedback to see if culturally responsive teaching makes a difference. My experience, when students see their culture represented in the classroom, they become more engaged. For example, when I include local story and community examples in my lessons, students started participating more actively. They raised their hands more, shared their opinions, and even helped each other with the tasks. I also utilize simple feedback forms where students can tell me how they feel about the lesson, if they feel seen, included, and if the content connects to their lives. One student once wrote, "I liked how we learned about something from my village. It made me want to share more in class." Such feedback shows that culturally responsive teaching can really boost student motivations. Regarding academic results, I notice improvement especially among students who used to struggle. After incorporating familiar examples in math problems or writing topics related to the culture, their test scores improve. It's not that the content become easier. It's simply become more meaningful and relatable. Additionally, I observe their behavior. Are they more confident? Are they staying on a task? Or are they willing to participate in a group activities? These are a sign that the teaching is effective. I also talk with parents sometimes to see if they have noticed any change at home. Overall, I believe culturally responsive teaching genuinely helps students feel more connected, more confident, and more capable. By using feedbacks, performance data, and their reflections, we can determine if we are on the right path. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Jana. Now let us hear from Miss Juliana. Miss Juliana, what barriers have you faced, such as lack resources, time constraints, resistance from others, and how could we collectively overcome the challenge?
Thank you, moderator. As a teacher, I believe many of us have faced various challenges in our daily responsibilities. One of the main challenges is limited resources. In today's education landscape, we talk about digital learning, interactive teaching tools, and student can choose approach. But not all schools have the necessary technology or materials. Sometimes we rely solely on basic tools and our own creativity to deliver effective lesson. Another common challenge is time constraints. Teachers are not only teaching in the classroom, but also handling administrative work, report, meetings, and extracurricular duties. Many of us want to try new teaching methods like project-based learning or active learning, but planning and implementation require time we often don't have. This reality pushes many to stick with conventional methods simply because they are faster and more manageable. Next, we also face resistance from others, especially when change are introduced. This could come from colleges who are more comfortable with traditional approach or even parents who worry that new methods might affect their children's performance. In this case, I believe that open communication and awareness are a key. We need space to explain the purpose and benefits of new methods to all stakeholders involved. So, how can we overcome this challenge collectively? I believe it starts with support from school leadership. When leaders encourage teachers to explore new strategy without fear or failure, it creates a healthy learning environment. Also, a strong teacher community is crucial. We can share resources, co-plan lesson, and learn from each other's best practice. Finally, ongoing professional development plays a big role. Teachers need the opportunity to attend training, workshop, or professional learning communities so they stay motivated and ready to embrace change. In conclusion, challenges are real, but with teamwork, clear communication, and solid support, I believe we can create a more inclusive and effective learning environment for our students.
Thank you, Ms. Juliana. Lastly, we are pleased to welcome Ms. Clarice, our SDG advocate. Ms. Clarice, could you explain how cultural responsive aligns with the goals of SDG 4, especially in promoting inclusivity, equity, and lifelong for all students?
Thank you, moderator. So, for me, culturally responsive teaching strongly support SDG 4, which aim to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. This teaching approach helps create a classroom where every student feels respect and value, regardless of their background. It supports inclusivity by making students feel seen in their learning environment. When teachers include cultural reference, traditions, language, or example from student own backgrounds, students feel more welcome and connected. This not only increases their confidence but also help them participate more actively in class. It also promotes equity because it recognizes that not all students learn the same way or have the same starting point. Culturally responsive teaching allows educators to adapt their methods and materials to meet the unique needs of every student. By doing this, it gives everyone a fair opportunity to succeed instead of expecting all students to fit into a one-size-fits-all system. Lastly, it encourages lifelong learning by helping students build a strong and positive sense of identity. When students feel that their culture is respected in school, they are more motivated to learn, not just in class, but throughout their life. This kind of empowerment leads to better educational outcomes and helps students become confident, active learners beyond the classroom. In short, Culturally responsive teaching is not just a method. It's a meaningful way to help us achieve the true goals of SDG 4 by making education inclusive, fair, and empowering for all students. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you for all our panelists for their informative and inspiring contributions. As we conclude our forums today on this topic about integrating culturally responsive pedagogy, I extend my deepest appreciations for your engagement and helpful contribution through our discussions. Today, we already have explored the meanings and significance of culturally responsive teachings and its vital roles in creating inclusive, respectful, and effective learning environment. We have shared practical strategies for integrating students' cultural backgrounds into our lesson. Discuss how to evaluate the impact of this practice on student motivations and performance, and address the challenge educator may face in implementing this approach. It is clear that culturally responsive pedagogy is not simply an instructional technique, but a profound commitment to equity and justice in education. Our works align directly with Sustainable Development Goals for SDG 4, which call for inclusive, equitable, and quality education for all. By embracing culturally responsive practice, we help ensure that every learner, regardless of backgrounds, feels valued, supported, and empowered to reach their full potential. Let us carry forward the insight and inspirations gained today. Continue to serve not only as educator, but also as advocate for positive change within our communities and education system. Thank you all for your dedication and participation, and I wish you success in your ongoing journey to transform education for the better.